All right. What's up, family? Welcome to the Blessed Billions podcast. Today I've got Mike Vanduzee with us, and he is a content creator and social media master. And he's going to talk to us today about how to build lasting content channels on any platform. And I asked Mike to come on because I was so impressed with his values and how he values putting value out there over just going viral. So he's going to talk to us about that. He's going to tell us all about how he built his platforms, his Facebook channel to over 1 million. TikTok is around 400,000, you said, and then the YouTube is over 250,000 and more. And you've helped tons of other content creators do similar growth with their platforms. And so, welcome to the show today, Mike.
Hey, thank you. Thank you.
And so we have all these beautiful plants behind you. And so can you tell us what is your channel about and why did you decide to start?
Yeah, it's about hydroponics and uh, these are fake plants. But yeah, if you check out any of my channels, it's all about hydroponics, and it's basically teaching people how to grow easy and affordable. And that way, just about anyone, anywhere can do it, because it's I tried for like years to like start a garden ever since I was like a teenager, and gardening's tough. Some people find it easy in that, but to get out there and actually work the soil and composting and all the stuff that goes with a traditional garden, there's a lot to keep up with: weeding, tilling, composting, and everything. So uh, I was on the road a lot. I was working with my wife, and we didn't have time to garden. And whenever we started one, we could be gone for like a week or two at a time, and then we'd come back and something inevitably, yeah, it would just be wrong. So I tried to find some way that we could grow easily. And at that time, we were on a 300-acre ranch. We were working as farmhands, and I found hydroponics. And every time we were doing our traditional garden, we were out. Wildlife would just come through there all the time and just ravish everything. So we started hydroponics where we could put it in a greenhouse or up on. We had a big porch. It was about 30 feet long, and what do you call it? We could put our hydroponics up there, and the wildlife was a little less apt to come up, on there. And so I did that for years before I even got on social media anywhere, and then got on, started sharing it, and just grew my channel just from helping people.
Yeah. Yeah, that's fantastic. And you talk about helping people. And I heard in some of our previous conversations, I didn't ask you directly, but what is it that really drives you to help people with hydroponics specifically?
Well, one thing, specifically, it's just like growing food, but that's the easy way that I found. So I like to share that with people. And one time I was on showing someone how to do just a simple hydroponics thing, and I was showing inside of our greenhouse, and I shared it inside of a group, and it was a vegan group back
Yeah.
that while ago, and it was called What Broke. I don't know if I can say broke ass vegans eat or whatever. And I was just trying to help them out too, and show them how to grow their own food. And they said, somebody came on and said, I hate when someone says something's cheap and it's really not. And you know how we get comments on the internet, all you see is a little avatar and a name. You don't really know who's on the other side. And some, or a lot of times things are like taken out of context. So
Mm-hmm.
a lot of times we get offended and just, say something back. But I just decided to say, I'm sorry. I thought I was doing it cheap and easy, and I thought, it would help people. And they came back and said, well, they didn't mean to be, kind of snide like that, uh, they were talking about my greenhouse. And so what they didn't know was I explained to them, I didn't buy a big expensive greenhouse. This was it was a shelter in a box, the one where you park a car under. We
Oh,
had
yeah.
for years, and it was the top had tore up and everything, but I had the frame. So it was a leftover frame from something. We put it up, and we got leftover pieces of lumber, some plastic. It wasn't even greenhouse plastic. It was just regular plastic we draped
Yeah.
over it. So it was a makeshift kind of thing, and done on the cheap. and just a couple of conversations, just a couple of comments back and forth. And so, I said, I'm sorry. And they came back and said, she said she was sorry. She didn't mean it, but she was homeless. She was sleeping on someone's couch. She was eating out of a dumpster, going dumpster diving to get food.
Yeah.
And, but she was on the other side of the world. I think, she was in England or something.
Mm-hmm.
So there's, not much I could do. I was just like, I'm sorry. And I just started social media, and I was just, so, I was just taken back at that. And I just thought from there, whatever I was showing people that I thought was cheap and easy, I was going to make it even more cheap and more, just go as far as I could to help everyone. And once I learned that and showed people that, I could always go the other way. But I said, from where I'm at, if I do like everyone else, then we have to buy fancy equipment and we have to go buy all kinds of fancy stuff that, you leave a lot of people behind. So that conversation with someone, kind of sparked where I took things in the other direction, which is not a good move for business because, if you're trying to sell things, you're looking for, everyone's always talking about high price offers and things like that. So now you're targeting more and more of the people that can't afford anything. So, but that's what I made it a mission for like years, just doing as cheap and easy as I could, share as much as I can, and just grow an audience that way. And then other people see it too, and everybody likes to save money. So,
yes.
Even if they're not that bad off, instead of spending $1,000 on hydroponic equipment, they can just get something out of the recycling bin and get a little bit of nutrients and seeds and start growing food. So that little interaction kind of sparked everything.
Yeah. And yeah, it sounded like she really, like you said, it sparked everything and it made you think about I guess I'm wondering, as part of your mission, everything that you do, it's really sustainable. I know you said you were vegan for a while. I'm vegan, and it's sustainable. It's, low cost. It's a mission to feed other people as well. Is that right?
Yeah, pretty much. It's I figured right now, I've been saying this for years and years, this is like the greatest time in history to reach out and connect with people. And like that little interaction we had, that was someone on the other side of the planet.
Right.
And so I figure if I show somebody, like before the internet, if I learned how to do this, and I don't even know how I would have learned, it would have took forever to try and learn all of this stuff without the internet. I would just tell a couple of people around me or had a little thing at the library or something and showed a couple of people. And now you can make a video and, even if only 100 people see a video, that's 100 people around the world somewhere that's seen it. And each one of them can tell somebody. And I don't know if you've ever done the thing where you have like 1 penny, and the next day, if you say 2 pennies and then 4 pennies in 30 days comes out to like $500 million.
Yeah.
Or 500 million pennies or whatever. And so it's, it doesn't take that long to start compounding. So if you teach one person how to grow and another one, and you tell them, when they say, what can I do for you? Can I support you? I want to, give you a super chat or donate and this and that. And you say, just pay it forward and go show somebody else how to grow. And even if you don't tell them my name, even if you don't point them back my way, as long as you take the knowledge you learned and pass that on to someone else. So that's the mission, is just to get people all over the world doing it, so that I'll have people find my channel and see my stuff and come on and say thank you. And I've never even seen them before, and they haven't been on, that this was the first time they made it there, but they have, heard from other people. So,
Right.
that, the word that you're trying to push out, it's getting spread. And that's just like, that's a cool feeling.
Yeah, that's amazing. Well, and I know you said earlier when you were talking about, it's your mission. I run across people like this all the time, and that they want to help high school students to, not with depression and suicide, or they have all these nonprofit kind of ideas. And you were saying, hey, most savvy business people say, don't go for the lowest, don't go super cheap, because you're kind of cutting the legs out from under you, go high ticket, sell to people who have money, that sort of thing. But you were able to build all of your channels you were able to have amazing success with all of your channels. And I didn't ask you your, finances or anything like that, but it sounds like you're doing pretty well online as well. And so I wondered, why does it work that way? I think part of this podcast, I really want to dive into and kind of debunk some of those myths of like, oh, you have to sell like this, or you have to do it this way, or, it has to be cutthroat in order for you to make money, or you're not going to make it, and that sort of thing. So, like, how exactly did you do that? And why do you think it works?
Well, one thing is you got to be different because there's so much out there. And if there's something, if I'm like going to scramble an egg and I go out and make a video about that, how many people have scrambled an egg? And if you even search for it and you see all these things come up on a search, you're going to go click on the one with more views, or somebody's been around a while, and not like the garden guy that's like scrambling an egg or something. So you got to be a little different. And what I did was I figured if you try to sell something, you have to constantly be going after sales, unless you like build a course and just put on autopilot and run ads or something. But if you're going out and you're trying to do coaching and whatever you do, you have a couple of sales, you do memberships, whatever you do, it's going to end eventually, and you keep doing it over and over and over again. But if you can grow an audience on any of the social platforms, and it doesn't matter which one, because it's like TikTok might get banned. I got 400,000 followers over there, and it might like go away, but that attention goes somewhere else. And then you go find where that attention goes and do what you've learned worked already over there. And if you can get some of these other systems set up, like the AdSense and affiliate links and your online courses and ebooks, you can even put, just mini courses and that links up in all of your content. Then all you have to do is make content, put it out without the intention of a call to action with, every video, like, go check this out, go do that. I ran most of my channel. If you go through like all my old videos, I hardly ever say, hey, click the like button and follow it, and all that stuff you hear all the time. My thing is, I genuinely want to help people and do that. And I'd rather that happen than, I could learn how to do that, but I think people get tired of hearing it. So, and they hear this is a sponsored ad, or people always trying to do reviews, and, there's tons of that out there. So, that was just me. I just didn't want to be one of those channels. So I figured I'd just go all in on helping people. Like I was talking about, before, that hopefully karma's going to pay you back. And, because we all have to eat, you got bills to pay, that things will work out, in the long run. So the thing that I did was it takes a whole lot longer to do. It's easy to build out something real quick and then just go sell it. But then, like I said, then you're constantly having to do, you're on that treadmill. And once you get these other systems in, I could like take off for 2-3 weeks, a month, or whatever. And all these videos are still up on all these platforms. They still get pushed out every day, even if I don't put a video up. So you're building up a library of content everywhere. So I've got like one video on YouTube I made when I first moved here 7 years ago, I think. And it's got a couple million views or whatever. But it wasn't like I put it out and it got 1 million views. It took like a year before it like got any traction. And then it got a little bit of traction right before lockdown. And then, of course, everybody got stuck in. So YouTube took that one because they knew that one, got enough attention. They kept pushing it out. So that one still remains like in one of my top 10 ones, still generates revenue. I think it's got over like $12,000 for like a 7-minute video that I did in my backyard, and I look back at it and it's like, a stupid little video, whatever. Right. But when you're doing it, you don't see people think, they're going to put one out and they focus on how much it generates right then. But you're building up a whole lot of content. So after you get so many of these built out, you can afford to slow down and these keep the revenue coming in after that. So that's basically why I did it. So then that way I can focus on, if people need help, I can help them. I don't have to constantly say, go click my link. It helps me out. I don't say, go buy me a coffee. I don't have to do all those things, but I can come out, do a video and say, hey, this is what you need to know, and get right into it and just get done with it.
Yeah. Yeah. So you said in the beginning, you're like, I'm just going to help people. I'm going to help people. I'm going to hope that that comes back. And it sounds like it's come back, and you have a ton of followers, and you just consistently put content out there. And we were talking earlier because you have this concept called the social media cookie jar, and it's so different from a lot of what other people are teaching on YouTube, and I think as entrepreneurs, we're out there, and I think we're in that frantic. A lot of people, whenever they start, they're in this like frantic mindset of, okay, I got to get money now. I got to make, I gotta, you're trying to chase, like you're saying, chase the next thing, chase the carrot. And so then they're like, okay, well, how do I go viral? How do I build my channel really fast? How do I do this? But your approach is different. So can you speak to the cookie jar and what your approach is and why it works?
Yeah, it's I started that because that's what I basically think about, like every time like I put out a video, is because we do think about your content. If you're going to sell a cookie, it's got to be a good cookie, period. If you have a crappy cookie, nobody's going to like it. So there's every scenario you can go through with content creation. Kind of has an analogy with like if you're baking a cookie and trying to sell it. So it's, as far as, it looking good, it's smelling good, it tasting good, you've got to have all these things in place. And if you think about it, so when you're doing your content and you're making your thumbnail and you just kind of go, oh, okay, it looks all right. But if people don't click on your video, if you don't have a good thumbnail, you don't have a good title, the best cookie in the world and nobody's ever going to taste it. So, you've got a good cookie, if somebody ate it, are they going to eat part of it, or are they going to eat the whole thing? Or are you going to ask your friends, or your friends going to, taste it and turn around and tell you, oh, it's good, even though it's not, and spit it out and be like, oh my God, I hope she doesn't give me any more cookies. And every time you make one, you're asking your friends to try your cookies, right? So there's an analogy, it kind of fits everything. So I like to put it out there like that because everyone's doing the same thing, go here, go there, use trending music, pump out content, and it's all the same stuff, and people aren't really looking at why. And I spent years explaining to people about like serving your perfect avatar, speaking to one person, and sometimes all of that does, and it just kind of goes, they really don't want to hear it or don't comprehend it. But when you explain it to them like an analogy like that, then it kind of sticks with them. And so if they call and ask a question and say, well, how good is your cookie, does your cookie look good, and they'll kind of know what you're talking about. It's kind of a fun way just to look at it and kind of keep things lighthearted, because being a creator for like years and years, people get run down. I just see so many people just getting burned out and quitting. So I like to keep it a little lighthearted and try to keep some creators around for a while.
Yeah, absolutely. And so if for creators, I imagine, people who want to get out here on the internet, it's either creators that just want to create stuff, or it's business owners who have something that they do want to sell on the backside. And so they're wanting to build out a channel. How long, if I was just getting started and I came to you, how long, well, I have so many questions about content, but we'll just get to a couple of them. But how long would you say, like we said, a lot of people are like, hey, how can I get this fast? How can I get this fast? But what would you say to people? How long is it going to take them to really build up a following? What are maybe the key things that they need to keep in mind during that time, so that it'll end up paying off in the long run? Because it sounds like you're talking about the long game. You're talking about investing in the future, and it goes perfectly with plants, right? You have to, before you can actually eat the thing, it has to germinate, and you have to let it grow, and you have to nourish it. And there's going to be some bad ones in there, but there's like a waiting period between planting and harvesting. So what would you say that is for most platforms?
Well, it depends on you. First, you've got to ask yourself, are you trying to build a brand, or are you just going for a side hustle? You just want to be a YouTuber or whatever, or TikToker. And, so if you just want to grow a following, and that you just go out, you can pump out a bunch of videos and just do just about anything. I can go make a stupid video about something and, get 1 million views, but it doesn't really help. But if you're trying to build a brand, that's why I said this is the long game. And I've always listened to like this guy, Gary Vaynerchuk. And way back years ago when I first started, he said something that just stuck with me was whoever can hold their breath the longest wins. And that's why I go with the long game, is that the longer you can go without monetizing your audience, the easier it's going to be. And if you're just getting started out, if you're just looking for sales, if you're just in it for business, this is like a great time. If you're just trying to get attention for that, you're not trying to build a following. So you can do the same with like 1,000 people or something, as like another channel could do with 100,000 people, because you're going to attract the right people. The algorithms are getting a whole lot better at taking your content and just showing it to the people that are really interested in it. And if those people respond to it, it'll find more people like that and push it out to more people. And the reason why like videos don't go anywhere and some people put it out is just that those people didn't respond to it. So the algorithm doesn't know where to go from there. But it's getting better at that. So if you're a business, you can use all of these platforms as testing. Like we were talking about, like free market research. And don't think about like it's a video, I put it out and nobody saw it, or I put it out and 50 people saw it. It's your testing content. So if you put something out, nobody sees it. It's just like, do a couple more like that. And if it keeps doing the same, you're like, well, this doesn't work, so I try something else. And then when you find something that works, then you lean into that, you make a couple more like that. And then when one does pop off, if you're running a business, you can actually run ads. If you're just selling stuff locally, you can run ads and you can target people within 5 miles of you or 10 miles of you, or in your state or in your country. There's all kind of targeting you can do, but you get to do the free market research to find out what works and what doesn't work. So what I would do is if I was a business and I didn't care about growing a following, I was just looking for the perfect people, I'd put out as much content as I could, because that's all just free testing that would otherwise cost thousands of dollars if you went to an agency somewhere. And then find what works. And then you can run ads against it, or you can just lean into it and just keep making more content like that. And the algorithms will start, driving more traffic to you, which will be your ideal clients.
Yeah. Whenever we were talking, and I love this, I love that, whenever we were talking on a previous conversation, you had said now is the perfect time for new content creators to get out there because of AI and just the way things are changing. And I think that's great advice that you said, just put a lot out there. If you want to, if you want viral, if you want to go faster, if you want something to pop off, then you've got to put in the work. You got to put the videos out there. I know in my space, I'm always telling people 100 videos, 100 videos, 100 videos, just like get out there and start putting your stuff out there, because your messaging is going to get better, and what you're saying is going to get better. And again, you're going to see other people, you're going to start seeing you, all of the things. So whenever you sit down to do your content, because you said it's a serve first mentality of I'm here to give people value, I'm here to help people, but you also kind of have a goofy side to you too. So whenever you sit down to create content, well, you're not actually sitting, you're gardening, so, but whenever you get ready to create your content, what are some of the thoughts that are coming through your mind, or the prompts that you're kind of working off of whenever you're creating your content?
Just anything I'm doing, I made like videos, and if you go ahead and just like look at other people that are in your niche, your genre, see what's popping off and what's not. There's several different ways to do things, but all of social media, it doesn't matter what platform you're on nowadays, you need a hook. And that's the first, believe it or not, 3 to 7 seconds of a video. So if you don't get their attention that fast, they're off to the next cat video or Taylor Swift or whatever's going on, NFL, or, so they're off to something else. And when I'm actually like growing the plants, which it's a little tougher, like if I was just doing crafts, like my wife, and she decides to make something, we can just run to the craft store, grab some stuff, come over, shoot a video, and in a day and make a video and put it out. With the gardening, you got to grow something. So there's a lot that goes into planning. So I do microgreens that grows in 7 to 10 days, but then I grow some bigger plants. That takes like months. So you've got to think while you're filming and while you're doing all of this, you got to film it when you get out there and start prepping and you plant. If it's going to be a tutorial, you're going to have to show how you're doing it. And then you're going to show steps along the way. And then you're going to show the final product. So you could be filming for weeks or even months. And you've kind of got to have, that all in your head that whatever I do somewhere along here, I need a hook. Because if I can do all of this work, if they never watch the first 7 seconds, all this other stuff is just gone. It's a waste. So each step you're thinking, would this be interesting? When I film, I have more content than I know what to do with, just hard drives. And, so just film everything. Because when you sit down, there's nothing worse than thinking, oh, I wish I would have got that shot. Or I wish I would have got that angle. Or, the exposure wasn't right and this and that. So you can always have too much. You can always erase it later or just get rid of it, which I have a bad habit of not doing. I've got like tons and tons of memory. But you film different angles. Some people, I've talked to some creators when shorts were first coming out, and everybody was taking our landscape videos and just squashing them up like this. So you saw a whole lot of videos were just like, the framing was like they were trying to get everyone in there. And what I started doing was I film one way, landscape, and then I take my camera and film it the other way. And I didn't have 2 cameras. Now I have a couple of cameras. I can flip one way or the other. And I'll have like whatever shot I'm doing, I have 2 different footage. Some other creators, there's different things you can go through a strategy. We'll shoot 8x7 or square, and then that way you can crop in, but then you lose a lot. You don't want to be filming something important, on the edges. But, and they were saying, oh, that's too much work. And I said, well, you just told me, this is your dream. You want to do this. You want to quit your crappy job and you want to do this for a living. And, but filming twice is too hard, but then they'll go to work and the boss would say, do this, do this, do this, do this, and you'll have to do it. And they do it. But then when you say, hey, do, a little something like this, or you have to post on, cross post on all these platforms, they're like, oh, that's too much work. We're like, that's your dream. That's not your job. You're going for. So, yeah. It's just you have to think through like every step, and it just comes from repetition. It's not going to happen like overnight. If you try to do it all, in the very beginning, you're going to get just overwhelmed. But the more you do it, you think that then when you're filming, something will happen. You go, oh, that will make a good hook, or that will make a good thumbnail. So you take a little extra time and slow down and take a still frame or something instead of like moving, and then you're trying to get a thumbnail or something. So out of repetition, you'll start to learn, as you're doing it, you're like, oh, that's what's going to get their attention. And that's just what we keep doing. I just train people to do. And it sounds like a lot of work, but after a while, you get to having fun with it. Hopefully, if not, being a content creator is making lots of videos and lots.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Well, you'll find out real quick, I guess, if you don't like to do it. But it's like everything, right? Whenever I think we just forgot how hard it was to ride a bike and how hard it was to learn how to walk and how hard it was. Like it takes years to learn how to talk. I think we just forget that, in the beginning of life, we don't care. And we just do this over and over and over again. And we don't care what people are thinking or how many times we make mistakes. But I think school kind of beats it out of us that way. But yeah, so one last question that I really wanted to ask you, as well as because you had talked about during COVID, you were traveling with your wife, you had another business that was going well, and then during COVID, everything kind of shut it down. You decided to do content creation full time. So I'm curious, in that moment, whenever these kind of crash moments happen, I think it's easier to go back into the frantic lack energy and maybe start freaking out. And how were you able to just stay in the zone of, I'm here helping people, and just know and trust? I guess I just want to hear that story. How did that work out? How were you able to stay in the zone and just trust and keep plugging along whenever it was kind of like emergency time?
This is going to sound like I'm a sponsor for Gary Vee or whatever, but I didn't watch a whole lot of different people, but I listen to a lot of his stuff. And way back then, he was saying, if you want to start a business, whatever you want to do, and he was talking about like getting on social media and everything, he said, that there's different things you can do in conjunction with it, that you don't have to go all in trying to do that, expecting it to happen overnight. And he was talking about like yard selling and flipping things. And so before lockdown even happened, me and my wife, while we just first started putting content out, was doing, just started everything out. In the meantime, I was going every morning. I would go to different thrift shop. There were different thrift shops, and I knew that they put stuff out on a certain night. I was getting stuff and I was flipping it on eBay and Facebook Marketplace. I saw a cast iron sink on the side of the road, weighed 100 pounds, but I stopped in my little car and like picked it up, threw it, in the back of the car. Took 30 minutes to clean it up, took a picture, and somebody bought it like the next day for like $150.
Nice.
And so I just kept doing things like that to keep some of the money coming in to pay the bills, so that I wouldn't have to like freak out on my audience, say, oh, I need help, and we're not getting unemployment checks like everybody else is getting. And, could you please donate and, buy me coffee or, and all of these things. So I said, I'll do all this other stuff, the things that you get your hands dirty doing. And I had, things on Amazon, I had things on eBay, Facebook Marketplace. My wife had racks of clothes, and she actually got into it because we stopped by like a church, had like a yard sale right before we got into lockdown, and she stopped and there were purses. I know nothing about purses, and they had them for like $5, and she was like grabbing a bunch of them, and she was going, do you know how much these were worth? I think they were Michael Kors or something, or different.
Wow.
Yeah, she somebody had just donated them to a church. They didn't know what they were. They just needed some donations, and they were happy. Oh yeah, $5 a piece. And my wife was putting them on Poshmark or all these sites, and was selling for $95, $150.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. Yeah.
And it was, so she kind of got it, and she's like, wow, this is cool. But then the internet gets better and better and better. And then all of the thrift shops, when we open back up, they taught all their employees how to get on the internet and eBay and find out what the prices are. And now they don't put the good stuff out anymore. They send it right into eBay themselves. And so it's not as easy, but that's what, if you can get all these different side hustles and things in and get revenue streams coming in, then you don't have to feel pressured. They call it passive income, like I have like the AdSense set up and affiliate links and everything, but it takes a little time. It doesn't happen overnight. And that's why you see content creators out there, I did this, buy this, can you support me, blah, 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 over and over. And it works for some people. I just can't, I never could, be that kind of person. I never like just selling outright. And right now I'm to the point where, the information that I give out, I feel good, having a course and like selling that, because I know that it can help people, and I know that it works. But before, I was just making hydroponics. Pretty much I did it the cheap and easy way. So I was showing people, you get a container, you put some nutrients in there, put your plants in, and wait for it to grow. And, basically that's it. So I have like 7 years of content like that. Sooner or later, you can only put in so many different containers, and there's not a whole lot of different things you're doing to it. But by doing that, you got to help a lot of people, because there's a lot of people out there that they can't garden. They don't have the time, the money. Some people don't have a yard. Some people are in condominiums. So there's a lot of people that were left out of, everybody should grow some of their own food, a little bit of it. So then I could focus on all of that, because I had all the little side hustles going on. It's just a lot of, getting your hands dirty and not being afraid, to do all of the other stuff. And that, I don't know, that might be like a long answer to your question there, but that, basically what kind of pushed us in, we were already ready for when that happened, to do all of the other things that we needed to do, so that when I push content out, I just did like my downspouts that I was selling. I just started buy one, get one free. It's what we were talking about. And people were like, oh, I'm stuck in the house, I want to grow. So,
yeah, COVID was probably actually the perfect time for things to pop off, because the gardening in general got, everybody was inside, they were bored, they wanted to grow, they were worried about, supplies and everything. So that was probably a perfect time, actually. But what I've heard you say over and over, and I'm just going to wrap this up, but what I heard you say over and over is like, is that you're a true farmer. My family has been in Wyoming. That I come from farm stock, and rigging stuff up, like you said, with the greenhouse where you're just like drilling stuff together. So I just feel like you're such a true farmer of just patience. I'm hearing you say that over and over again. You're just planting the seed, you're nurturing it with your content, you're just giving value, you're planting the seed, you're nurturing, you're being patient, you're willing to put in the work, whatever it takes, whether it's going to, grab something off the side of the road and clean it up so that you can sell it and keep doing your thing. You're just willing to put in the work, you're willing to wait for the result, you're willing to put in the quality stuff, and just continue to do it until your skills are mastered, is what it sounds like. And rig stuff together, do it cheap and easy until you can afford higher price. Like you said, I just had one camera, now I have two cameras. And so those are kind of the things that I'm hearing come out of this conversation, and maybe some of your secrets to success. But before we finish our interview here, is there anything else that you want to leave future content creators?
No, it's just, get out there. Right now, things that are, changing. You can listen to people say, I did this 10 years ago, or 5 years ago, or even a couple of years ago, and everything has changed like drastically. And I'll see things knowing that I know other creators too, and it goes up and down and up and down. We go through different periods where platforms try to change things, and they go through a big reset. That right now, I've never seen it easier to make content, to put stuff out, for it to be interest based instead of based on like numbers and likes and how many people engage. It's really about like the viewers. So just get out there and speak to your perfect avatar. Figure out who you're looking for, who you're trying to serve, and just speak directly to like one person. And then that's whenever you see a like or a comment or whatever, that's one person. And what the algorithm's job is to do is, when that person figures out who that is, they'll find more people like that. So instead of you trying to find all of the people, the masses, make sure that you can find that one person.
Yeah, really good advice. Well, thank you so much, Mike, for coming on. And for everybody else, you can check out Mike on all of his platforms, and just any platform, and he's there, right? So definitely check him out, and we'll see you next time on the Blessed Billions podcast.